What's Plenty Sports Gamer here, and I got another video about Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. This video is in honor of a commenter whom I'm glad he commented, and I appreciate the comment that called me insane and that I should be ashamed that I have this platform to speak such nonsense about maybe the 49ers this offseason trading Trey Lance and stick with Brock Purdy as their franchise quarterback. I can see what he's talking about, but then I stumbled upon this article on an NFL Insider. 49ers quarterback Trey Lance should be traded to Texans for second-round draft pick. And I know this article is hypothetical, and who knows, this Dan Graziano, yes, from ESPN, is just spouting something, maybe to cause a headline. But hey, I'm sure it's being talked about. 49ers gave up a boatload of picks. There was 3 first rounds and I think a third round to move up in the draft, which I couldn't believe. I could not believe they did this. And why did they do that when they probably could have got Trey Lance at the 12th pick? Instead, I think Dallas ended up with that pick and got Micah Parsons, which is like a superstar. But it makes me remind me of that good NFL film Draft Day. I think if anybody hasn't checked out that film, they should. That's one of the top NFL based films, I think, in my opinion. It wasn't like a real story. It was based on fiction, but the Cleveland Browns traded 3 first-round picks to move up in the draft. You guys should check it out. So Dan Graziano says the 49ers are already looking to cut their losses with Trey Lance. If the 49ers get to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, I think they should stick with him. And I know Trey Lance, like nowadays, players, even people are very sensitive. Their feelings are easily broken. They pout, and we're going to see it all year long next year. If Trey Lance and Brock Purdy are on the team and Purdy is starting, you're going to see Trey Lance probably sulking on the sidelines. He might put up in the press, he might put up a front, but I am positive, in my opinion, that he's not going to be happy. He's not going to try. And he could possibly be a distraction to the team for next year. And I know I'm looking ahead with this video, but I think there's something that comment somebody made towards me. I mean, no, I'm not like angry or whatever at that comment. I'm glad he commented, and I thought it was funny. But I want to prove to him that I'm not insane, that it's being talked about, and possibly might happen. Now, I don't think it should happen. I think they should stick with the two. They become very, very cheap. It'll cost the 49ers for 2 quarterbacks, cost the 49ers $10 million next year. And most of that is going to Trey Lance. They might have the bargain of the century with Brock Purdy. If he actually, I know this is 4 starts. I'm gushing way too much about Brock Purdy. You have to look at this guy and you have to be impressed with the way he's playing. Like, he's a rookie and he's doing great. He's very consistent. He's gonna, I think, in my opinion, he's gonna be the future of this franchise. He looks way better than Trey Lance. He looks better than Jimmy G. He does something that Jimmy G just cannot do, and that's scramble out of the pocket, buy time, and throw the ball with pretty good accuracy. Jimmy G he's just slow. He's like running with cement in his shoes. So this Dan Graziano is saying that they should possibly get something in return for Lance. But they'll never, ever, ever get what they paid for him. This is why I think, in my eyes, they should just keep him. because they just gave up way too much to trade him away, even for a second-round pick. He needs to prove something. He needs to actually play and see what he could do and possibly get like a higher draft pick for him. And if he proves himself, the only way he's going to prove himself, I think, if Purdy gets injured. But if he gets out there, he needs to step it up and he needs to perform in the 49ers' eyes so they could get a little more value for him. Let's look at the stats for Trey Lance. And I know this is a small sample. Like, he barely played last year, and this year he got in one game in a little bit of a quarter. But if you can see, his first game against Seattle, his first real game against Seattle, he was 9 for 18, 157 yards. He had a 50% completion rate. He had 2 touchdowns. In 9 passes, 2 touchdowns. That's not good. You're not going to win with a quarterback throwing less than 60% of the pass completions. In his second start, it was 15 of 29, 192, 51%. That's not good. And the thing is, people think that he's a scrambler. Like, could be compared to a smaller Lamar Jackson. But if you look at the stats, 16 against Arizona, 16 rushes, 89 yards. That is not good for a quarterback. I think a quarterback scrambling should at least average 10 yards a scramble. And against Seattle, it was 7 carries for 41 yards. Averaging 5 yards a carry is not going to do it. And when I saw him play, I don't think he was as fast as people were saying he was. He didn't seem fast to me. And this is the game opened up everybody's eyes. The last game of the year last year. He had a good game. 16 of 23, 249, 69% completion. That's where it should be. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, 8 carries, 31 yards. That's not going to do it. So we go this year. I know it was a torrential downpour. But 13 of 28 for 164 against the Bears. 46% completion. 13 carries, 54 yards. 4.2 yards a carry. In a mess of rain like that, it's easier to run the ball because it's easier to get by the defense. If it's like sloppy, they need to make higher cuts than the runner. So I'm not impressed with his scrambling ability. If you look at Brock Purdy, very consistent. He had mop-up duty against Kansas City, so you can't really go by that. But if you look at his 4 games, 3 starts, very consistent. Against Miami, 25 of 37, 210, 67% completion rate. Tampa, 16 of 21, 185, 76% completion rate. Seattle, 17 of 26, 217, 65. And against Washington, he has 68 completion rate. 2 touchdowns in every game. Very consistent. And in this offense, you don't need to throw 300 yards, 400 yards in this offense because it's a run-based offense. You just need to not make mistakes. Shanahan finally let him throw the ball a little more downfield against Washington, as you can see by the 10-yard average. If you look at Jimmy G, it's people are saying he was having a career year this year. But you can see the stats are about the same in the Purdy range. About 250 yards passing. The completion rate is basically 65 to 70%. Mostly. He had a one good game, 84% against the Rams. All I'm saying is there is talk about Trey Lance getting traded. People are noticing. Houston, there was articles on Houston when Trey Lance played Houston. They loved the way he played. I think he'll be a great fit in Houston. They'll just let him loose and throw the ball wherever. I think he'll be a better fit in Houston than he would have been in San Francisco. San Francisco just needs the Jimmy G, Brock Purdy types. Just stand in the pocket, make those 10 to 20 yard passes, don't make too many mistakes, and they'll win, because with their running game and defense, they will win. So, what do you guys think? Do you think I'm insane? Do you think I'm crazy for thinking that they should trade Trey Lance? Or might trade Trey Lance? I personally don't think they should. They should keep him, as they have two decent quarterbacks, very, very cheap. But there is talk about him being traded, and it could possibly happen in the offseason, and I'm not insane. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, and comment. See ya.